In today's video, I cut plastic strips, I cut lead wires, I make a box, also I melt a metal, and lastly, I spray small dots. Hello fellow modelers, I have this nice Adriel Stummel made by Hasegawa in 72 scale on my table. There is a decal sheet with a lovely red and black numbers. It'll be handy for future models. The kit is few years old, but as you can see it has a lovely details, and only a few modifications will be needed. Small precision cutters are great for small parts and hardly accessible sections. All the parts fits well, and you can assemble the model fast and effortless. The interior has ejected pin marks from a molding process. Handy is to remove them with a soft sandpaper. I decided to replace steering wheels with metal ones made by Howler. The whole set includes many sizes, so you can use them for various army or civil vehicles. I like details, so I think opening vision port for driver would be nice. The vision ports are in the kit separately, so I must only drill the hole with a micro drill bit and correct the shape with a sharp hobby blade. You can do the same with the others on the sides, if you want. Okay, let's improve the interior. It looks sadly empty. Miniar recently released the same model but in larger 35 scale. So I used the 3D renders as a reference and tried to recreate some details. First is door mechanism. I use plastic styrene profiles which I cut from board. Then I like lead wires for small details, because they are soft and easy to shape. An excellent detail is MP40 machine gun located under the right door. I recast this one from some Dragon kit. I recreated the box next to the driver from plastic profiles. You don't need to be precise with measurements if you have precise cutters. These driving pedals will not be seen too much, but I couldn't resist. I designed a few 3D upgrade parts for this model, and the printable files are available for my Patreons or on Cloud3D. There is a missing storage for ammunition, so I printed the shells. Also near the driver seat are located two large batteries. It remains to add a few wires and more details from styrene. Stummel is basically Puma Cabriolet, so you can see the interior through the open turret. The plastic turret armor is thick and not realistic, therefore I am smoothing the plastic with a carbide milling cutter. The handy is to set a low RPM on your electric tool, otherwise you would melt the plastic only with the heat from friction. Also, the gun barrel requires care with a drill bit. Under the gun should be a bucket for empty cartridges. I designed the parts using the Blender 3D editor. It is a very powerful tool and you can do incredible stuff with it. Also, it is free, so you can try it. It seems that I'm done with the basic improvements, so let's paint it. I use Tamiya acrylic lacquer paints, which are not the best, but they are relatively cheap and easy to clean from airbrush with ordinary alcohol. I only recommend adding a few drops of the retarder into the mix, which prolongs drying time slightly. The final spray layer is then smoother. Now some dirt and shading with Vallejo acrylic paints. I mix them with water, which allows me to paint smooth and soft layers. I like alcohol-based metal paints for paintbrushes made by Agama. The coverage is strong and the outcome is nicely shiny. The small scale requires very tiny sketches, so a good quality paintbrush is necessary. I use Da Vinci red sable brushes with natural hairs. This paintbrush requires also special care. So I don't use chemicals for cleaning, I use ordinary soap and water. The interior is done, so I can assemble the hull together. I told you that you can clean Tamiya paints with alcohol from airbrush. However, you can also safely remove residual paint from the model surface. I have unique name for this part, vehicle size measurement sticks. The kit has these parts thick, thus I'm making new ones from copper wire. You can recreate the ball from putty, but the easy way is to melt the wire with a lighter. You can find many historical photos of Stummel or Puma with different wheel patterns on one vehicle. I found nice wheels on Cal3D, I modified them for 7:2 scale and flattened tires in Blender. However, the files are not available anymore. If you are interested, write me a comment, and I can hopefully make a new design and share it. Now let's paint this small model. I want to make a classic German color camouflage pattern consisting of 3 shades. The first one is dark yellow. While painting, I realized I had forgotten to include exhaust pipes. This model is small, so you can easily miss details like that. I made new pipes from hypodermic needles, which are hollow and perfect for this purpose. The dark yellow shade is relatively dark for 7:2 scale, so it is good to paint highlights with a lighter shade. I am painting primarily raised sections and flat areas. The green stains are relatively tricky if you want them perfectly smooth, so you must test proper dilution and pressure. It is basically dirty thinner. It is good to set a low pressure of 15 psi or lower. Then test the flow on some piece of paper or plastic. I use Mr. Airbrush custom grade .18 for this job. I printed the wheels from black resin to make life easier. Actually, it has a super fine details, and I don't want to apply a paint layer over them. So I used alcohol and carefully remove the paint layer with a paintbrush. Ah, interesting, the residual paint looks like a dust, so I have done some weathering in one step. The next improvement is new jerry cans with halter buckles. There are 6 of them on the fenders, so it is better to make new ones and more detailed. The plastic ones looks relatively monolithic. The Hasegawa decals have relatively thick clear film, so I prefer using Tech-mod crosses. I couldn't do anything with a car plate, so I cut out the clear film with scissors. Maybe you noticed that I didn't apply any clear varnish on the surface. You do not need to if the decals are good quality and thin, otherwise it is necessary. The decals chemicals help to unify them with the surface. I designed new magazines, but I downloaded the MG47 itself from printables and only modified the mesh for 7:2 scale print. It is shame to use only one because it looks lovely. However, I noticed that there should be also second for the rear gunner. Yeah! It requires a new holder. I use copper wires which are thin and strong enough to hold straight shape. Okay, the final touch is more weathering. I don't want to make it horribly dirty and rusty, but exhaust can be. The sponge is great for making soft rust texture, however some dots are larger than 0.1 mm, so smoothing them with a toothpick is good. German jerrycans for water had the white crosses, so you can use this knowledge to make the model more attractive. As you can notice, the surface has many details, and they are not very pronounced. I can make them deeper with a dark brown oil paint and create artificial shades. I prefer oil because the drying time is slow and you have a lot of time to correct the shading or smooth it with a thinner. Now I'm painting tons of tiny scratches. It would help if you made them more or less randomly, but more accumulated on the edges and on access panels. I am imitating pure out fuel with a mix of gloss enamel black and brown oil paint. As you can see, the details have more depth after shading. I want accumulated dust and dirt on the fenders. I prefer to spray dust with a thin layer of enamel paint and wipe it out partly with a thinner. It would create soft stains. I use enamel paints, so if the splatter dots are large, you can easily wipe them out, because the enamel paint can be easily reactivated by thinner. The last step is back mirror from chrome wallpaper. And with these details, I am done. The Stummel is attractive vehicle and exciting model. I would next time open the engine and make even more adjustments, but I promptly wanted to test if I didn't forget something after the break. I was primarily worried about my 3D modeling Blender skills, but I got into it relatively fast. Next time it will be aircraft model, so I'm already looking forward to opening a box and starting with a new model. Thank you for watching, to my Patreons for support, and see you next time!